Hey guys, welcome back to the channel for another flea market finds episode. This is going to be a video of stuff that I picked at the Stafford Motors Speedway in Stafford Springs, Connecticut this past April, I believe. I don't remember exactly the date, but anyways, kind of had some fun there. Found a couple of things that were pretty interesting and just some general good deals. Not as much as I thought I would find. A lot of automotive parts and things like that, which you would expect, racing things and stuff like that that I don't use. But I did get some nice machinist tools and a few other items I think I'll be able to use here in the shop eventually. So let's dive right in. Before I reposition the camera, I just wanted to make mention of the fact that I just installed a new light here in the shop over the bench where I do all of these flea market finds. So I'm just curious whether or not you guys notice any difference from the lighting from this video, from the previous flea market finds video, if you remember what it's looked like in the past. I was having a problem when I was taking photographs of items to list them for sale. I was getting a lot of glare and I had to play with the angle a lot. So I ended up deciding to put up a different light that I had. It's an LED light, and it's got a diffuser on it which does a better job of spreading the light out more evenly. What I did notice though is that the color temperature is quite different on this light than the previous LED lights, so that might be affecting this video. I'm just curious if it looks better, worse, or if it doesn't make a difference. Alright, so let's dive right in. Alright, so this first item I just saw laying on a table, and you know, I didn't want to pay too much for it because I didn't know whether or not this switch was any good or not, but I ended up getting it for $5, so I took a chance on it for $5. And what this is this came off of an air compressor set up somewhere. These are very similar to the type of controls you see on well pumps, but what gave it away that it was for air was the fact that it had this air relief valve on it right here. So this is an overpressure relief valve. You can manually pull this and release pressure from the tank, or by design, it's got a spring-loaded valve, so if the pressure exceeds what this safety relief is rated for, this will open and start bleeding off pressure so your tank doesn't blow. That would be like if this switch malfunctioned. Don't know if it's any good, but if it is good, it's a pretty nice switch, a gauge, some fittings, and an air relief, and even a decent amperage cord here on this thing for $5. This is going to come in handy for my upcoming air compressor project that I've got going. I've decided to upgrade the air compressor in my workshop. So anyways, that's going to be an upcoming series at some point, and hopefully I'll be able to put this to good use. Anybody who knows machinist tools knows the name Starrett, and you can imagine if you're looking for Starrett tools and you come across these brand new looking boxes, you'd get pretty excited until you open them up and you discover what I discovered, which this guy had a ton of just brand new empty boxes. They're all for micrometers, Starrett micrometers, and they're all empty. I only got these 3 for $1 a piece because the others he had already set aside. Somebody had come by early in the morning and bought the whole box off of him, the whole big cardboard box. He must have had 20 or 30 of these. So why did I buy these? Because I do have some Starrett micrometers that are loose, and I probably have some that are in pretty darn good condition, like maybe some 436s that would fit in here nicely. So, all right, first item is this nice little Starrett scriber I got for $1. That was a good deal. I didn't have any other machinist tools. I just happened to find this randomly laying with some other screwdrivers and stuff. And I came across a dealer who had some pocket knives in a box, and I was looking through the pocket knives and I spotted some Swiss Army knives, and these 2 particular ones that I picked out are actual genuine Swiss Army knives. They actually are Victronix or whatever the heck that name is. They show that they are made in Switzerland. You see so many of these now that unfortunately are they're Chinese imports. Both of these also have the little plastic like toothpick deal that goes in here. So why did I get these? Well, I got these because my son kind of got into collecting these. We started, he started buying these with his own money. So now I look for them when I'm out shopping, and these caught my eye. Even though they're kind of dirty, they're not as nice as some of the condition isn't as nice as some of the other ones. These are advertising ones. So this one is Xerox, the the copier company. And this one is marked OCE, so I don't know what that is, but I haven't shown him these yet. I'm sure he'll be pleased, especially since they're free for him. But I got these two knives and this magnifier for $3, and this magnifier is actually pretty nice. It's a Carson 10 power magnifier, and this is the style that you see like a lot of, I think, graphic artists and photographers might use. Typically they'll have these on a light table, and they'll use these to be looking at prints and things like that. So I like it because it lets in light from the side here. So I haven't decided yet. I might keep that for myself. Then normally I don't buy these anymore because you can't get a lot of money for them. But this is a Starrett. It's in the satin chrome. It's got a little bit of rust on the bottom there on that corner. But what's nice is it's got the original box. So this is a Starrett satin chrome protractor, a model C183, and the C tells you that it's the satin chrome style. And I got that for $5, and the same guy had this thread file. It's all rusty, and he threw this in for free. Thread files are great, by the way, in case you don't know what this is. This is for if you get a little bit of damage on a thread, oftentimes you can file that damage. You can save the thread without using a die, and just use one of these thread files. These typically come in pairs, and usually each one of these sides is a different pitch. So you've got 4 on this side, 4 on this side, that's 8, and then typically you'd have another one. So between the two you'd have 16 different thread pitches you can do, which covers most of your standard thread pitches. I'm assuming they probably make these in metric too, although I don't have any. And I'm kind of a sucker for these little oilers. I find these occasionally. I don't know if these are typically for guns or maybe sewing machines, but these tend to have a little sharp little needle point precision point oiler on them. Sometimes they are brass. This one might be brass with plating on it. Got this little action here to make the oil come out. I think some of these may be German silver or whatever. It's got a nasty dent over here. Other than that, it seems okay. I paid $5 for that. And then I got this set of Starrett hole gauges. These are the small hole gauges, the 829s. And they are all present and accounted for, and they seem like they're in pretty good shape. And this was a really good deal. I got these for $5. So for those of you who've never used these before, essentially what you've got is you've got this split ball on the end of this rod, and you've got an adjustment knob on the bottom here, and what happens is that pulls in this tapered plug in the end, and when the tapered plug gets pulled in, that will force these two balls apart. So you put these down in a hole that you want to measure, and you adjust this so that the balls spread out until they just start to lightly drag on the inside of the hole that you're measuring. Then you take them out and you use a regular micrometer, an outside micrometer, and take a measurement. So again, nice little set for $5. All right, this next group of items, these two items right here, I paid $15 for. This is a tension gauge. So it's sort of like a force gauge. So on the case here, this is the original case. It says Haag, H-A-A-G, Streit, S-T-R-E-I-T, A-G, I think. And then the name Correx, C-O-R-R-E-X. And I know it's the original case because that's what it says on the gauge itself, is Corex. The Haag Street Group is a Swiss-based company that specializes in the manufacture of medical equipment, specifically for the eye care industry. They're a multinational company with locations in the US, UK, but it appears like the headquarters might be in Switzerland, so this might be an early piece that they manufactured right there in Switzerland, near the city of Bern. And below on the dial, underneath Corex, it says Haag Street, Bern, B-E-R-N. And then the units of measure, it says centinewton and gram/pond. A centinewton is a internationally accepted unit of force. It is equal to 1/100th of a newton. Gram/pond is an old unit of measure for force. A pond is the gravitational force at mean sea level on a mass of 1 gram. Thus, it is equal to 0.980665 centinewtons. So if you notice on this scale, you can see that they're offsetting the outer reticle lines by a small amount to compensate for the fact that it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. The gram/pond has been abandoned as a unit of force because it is not in the international standards or the SI. And I got that for $15 with this pack of this only package of carbide inserts that the guy had. They all have the same shape, but I'm noticing that these three have a different coating on them, so I'm not even sure. What these are. They say they're Mitsubishi, but they are CNMG, so we should be able to figure out, what kind of a holder we could put those in. I might even have a holder that will use these. Just give you a little bit of a better look at these things. So, and I got these 3 items for $10, which is a pair of no name, probably homemade, because they've got the little indentation here, and it looks like somebody put their initials in there or name. Yeah, it looks like some guy named Vic made these. Looks like he had a little oopsie with them at one point. Got a drill spot right there, but other than that, decent little set of 1, 2, 3 blocks. And this kind of nice bench block. It's too tall to be an original Starrett, so I think this is a Starrett knockoff maybe. Yeah, the turning looks rough enough that it might just be a homemade job. But these are great. I'll take a look at the one I'm currently using, which is also a knockoff, and see if I want to keep this one or the one I have right now and let one of them go. I had an original Starrett one a while back, but the value of that was pretty high, so I decided to sell that and turn that into money instead. And then I ran into a dealer that I've seen at several other flea markets and that. And when he does, he often doesn't bring machinist tools because he doesn't feel he can get enough money for them at the flea market. And he feels that, generally speaking, people are too cheap at the flea market. The irony being is that I also have run into him at estate sales, and he's one of those guys that gets there very, very early, and he'll buy a whole bunch of stuff. And it's not uncommon for him to be selling right there in the yard before he even leaves the place. And I know because of the fact that he's doing those estate sales that he's getting some really good deals on this stuff. But then once he realizes what it's worth, he commands a pretty high price. So I had seen him bringing these chucks around to a few different shows, and struck up a conversation with him and finally got him to acquiesce and sell me these 2 chucks. He had $89 on this, which this is the better of the 2. This is the little Albrecht chuck that has the sensitive drilling attachment on it. So the way this works is you put this in your quill on your milling machine, and then while it's spinning, you can grab this wheel and you can pull down and you can hand feed, and you can feel the resistance of the very small drill bit going in, and from feel you can actually help minimize breakage of the small drill bits. So again, this is a sensitive drilling attachment that makes this extra expensive. There's a couple different companies that made these sensitive drilling attachments. I've only ever seen two different names on these. This one is the HC Stanley version, and I believe that has nothing at all to do with Stanley tools, because he had $89 on that one. And then this is just a regular Albrick chuck in good shape, with a straight shank. So they slapped that right in a collet. And he had 78 on this. So that's $167. And I was able to get him to give me these two for $130. And I still might be hard pressed to make a decent profit on these. So I figure I'm into this one for $50 and this one for $80. But we'll see. Then next up was probably the best deal I got that whole day, which was I picked these 5 items up from a dealer, put them in a pile, and got the whole pile for $5, which was this little parallel clamp, which, believe it or not, under all of this tape and garbage on here, you could obviously see it was stuck to something, and when they ripped it off the paper or cardboard, it stuck to it. But underneath here, that's a Starrett fishtail, aka center gauge. This is one of the later satin chrome ones. Oh, I'm sorry, my mistake. This is a Lufkin rule. It's identical to the Starrett version. Another genuine Starrett scriber. This is the smaller version of these scribers. Here's the one I showed you earlier. You can see the difference in size. This one, I didn't turn it around for safe storage like I did with this one. I turn these around so they don't poke through my backpack when I put them away. This one's got a bent tip. But I didn't turn this one around because, as often is the case on these, this is locked up. So, gotta be careful you don't damage the knurling when you try and, if you use pliers on these to try and open them up. And then this box, which contains a wiggler, okay? But there was also this in there, which I don't know what this is for. This is probably off an early surface gauge or something. You can definitely see this would ride up and down a rod, and it's got a little snug. It's got a very surface gaugey look to it. Fortunately, there's no markings on it whatsoever, so I may never know what that's for, unless somebody recognizes it. So this looks like the original box for this wiggler, but I didn't see a name on it. Doesn't look like a Starrett though. Maybe it's a Lufkin. Wow, this is an early one. This is a Union tool. A little unusual design on this one. I've seen these with the little balls on the end, but this one's got a ball and the point all in one. So let's get the sharp point and the ball. But I said I got 5 items for $5, and the 5th item was this, which is what made this the deal of the day. So what you're looking at right here is a fairly hard to find Starrett number 815 center punch hammer. These are copied now. You can buy reproduction ones of these, like import no-name ones. But this is a genuine Starrett one, which is what drives the value up on it. And what you've got is a small hammer with a magnifier built into it. And the idea is that if this was a center punch, for instance, what you would do is you would use the magnifier to get your center punch to be able to view your layout line, to get your center punch lined up perfectly. And now that you got it lined up, you get a hammer right there in your hand to give it a tap, right? So these are kind of collectible. They tend to command pretty decent money on eBay. And for $5, that right there was a hell of a deal. All right, let me clear a few of these things off the bench, and then I'll show you a couple other items I bought that day, and then we're almost done with this pick. So this is an Accurite 3 DRO. This was obviously came off of a knee mill, more than likely, 2-axis machine, and there were no scales or anything with it. So they were probably cleaning out someplace where they had taken this off of a machine, and it kind of got orphaned. I have no idea whether or not it does anything. And when I originally saw this, when I was walking around, the guy had this without any other machinist items really, except for one other thing which I did buy. But he wanted $50 for this. And then on my last pass through, before I was getting ready to leave, I saw that it was still there, and I said to him, hey, I said, you know, if you want, I'll give you an offer. And I said, I'll tell you right now, it might be insulting, but, you know, I figured maybe you don't want to take it home. And he says, yeah, well, what's your offer? So we went back and forth. I ended up getting this for $10. So I don't know what I want to do with this. I know that I talked about putting a DRO on my Wells Index a while back. I did end up getting a replacement head for my old Dynascan, or whatever the heck it was, I forget the name, DRO, and my scales are kind of like lousy, but it's real glass scales, so they're good quality. This also is a good quality DRO, so I could take a chance. If this lights up and seems to work, I could take a chance and maybe buy some scales off of eBay. This uses this type of plug input, which is different than my other one, so I don't think I can use those scales on this. Then again, maybe I could. I might be able to just figure out what the pinout is, and it might actually still interface. I don't know. But it's probably not worth the trouble of doing that. So there's a catalog number and a serial number on here, but there's nothing to indicate the year that this was made. Got a switch on the back here for diameter radius, which is interesting. Big old heat sink here. We got a fuse. Got an earth ground connection. So, yeah, what the hell? Let's plug this in and see what happens. Cord's actually in good shape. Alrighty, so I've got the unit plugged in. Let's power it up and see what happens. Well, we got something going on here. We just got 2 dashes. Oh, just got to be reset. Oh, look at that. Hey, I'll tell you what, that's not bad. That might have some life to it. All right, so let's see. Can I enter a preset? Let's enter preset. I'm guessing that should be showing me something. Maybe not. Okay. How about this one? No. Maybe I'm not doing this right. Inches. Oh, there we go. Clear. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing. Right now, there's probably a guy watching this going, hey, I own one of those. Well, anyways. So this looks like it may or may not work. The only way to know for sure would be to hook up scales, which I don't own, and see what it does. But the fact that it turns on and everything, that at least tells me that you know, there's some potential here. The other thing I bought from this guy was what I'm showing you right here. This is actually video that I shot of this unit when I was putting it in the car. I've already put this thing away into storage for now. Okay, so this thing, it's made by Ruthman, R-U-T-H-M-A-N. So it's a Ruthman gusher coolant pump for $20. It's not shown right there in the picture, but there's also a basket that I have with a screen in it that goes in there. And what this unit essentially does is it acts as a reservoir tank, and it's got this pump that will pump coolant to your machines, whether it's your surface grinder or whatever, and then the coolant will come back and collect in that sump and go back out. Now, the reason why I bought this thing was a while back, some of you may recall, I had purchased the mother of all belt grinders, this gigantic Hammond belt grinder that uses these huge belts. And I had toyed around with the idea of getting that thing running. And one of the things that was missing was it was missing the reservoir tank and coolant pump, and this might be just the ticket for that. And this company apparently is still in business. Well, so anyways, so that might be what I'm going to end up using this unit for. I haven't decided yet. And again, for 20 bucks, I decided to take a chance on it. I don't even know if the pump's any good, but we'll see. So I guess that's going to bring this episode to a close. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Take care.